So I've just beaten the Elden Ring DLC. God bless. YouTube intro, let's go. And beating RADAHN just now, my heart rate is still at like 150. I'm so upset that this was dead. If I had my heart rate on just then, it would have probably peaked 4,000. Anyway, we're going to go through every single boss in the game. I have versed every single boss we have here. And we will see what my thoughts were on each boss. They're going to be ranked on a scaling of what I think, like, if they're a good boss or not. So it'll be the thematics, it'll be the music, it'll be the atmosphere, it'll be the boss moves themselves. It would be like a bunch of different criterias, and this is just going to be how it's going to be ranked. I'm telling you right now that this is probably going to not be aligned with a bunch of other people's tier lists. So, yeah, let's get straight into it. Now, Ancient Dragon Man, he was alright. You get a decent item from him. Some Ashes of War. He was really easy to put down. The thematic of the area was nice because it was just a whole dragon temple and everything like that. So, yeah, pump that. I would say a solid B tier for him, just because it's like, I thought that honestly, once you killed him, you would have got the dragon skin from him, but you get that later on. So, good boss, good weapon, good drop, good area, nice. I hate every single dragon fight, so I'm going to put this one at E tier. You've pretty much already versed this dragon before, and it was super easy. It was just a really good entrance to the whole Bayle questline area. Now, this is going to say, I hate, and I have not been at all secretive about my disdain for dragon fights. But Bayle is literally probably one of my favorite bosses in this entire thing. To a point where on my YouTube, I probably can go here and scroll just for a second and see that it's... Yeah, it really is here. So this is my front page. It's right here. The voice actor for Bayle, the atmosphere of the area, literally every bit about the Bayle fight was so good. And it really goes to show that you can actually have a boss in Elden Ring with arena-wide attacks that are both fair, good spectacles, and amazing to verse, which is completely the opposite of the RADAHN fight, but we'll get into that in 1 second. So Bayle the Dread, easy S tier. Probably one of my favorite bosses of the entire DLC. Banging. All of the... Black Knight F, get out of here. F, get out of here. These ones aren't even cool. I don't know why they're like very particular bosses. These guys run around on horses throughout the whole game anyway. Black Gale Knight, the first boss in the entire DLC. Actually probably an A tier. It's a good lesson on the scaling and the difficulty of the entire game. Going in and versing this guy with no Scadutree fragments, no skibbities, it was hard. It definitely was, and it was a good eye-opening point to the fact that I was doing a double twin blade build in the base game preparing for the DLC, and you just couldn't abuse jump attacks and stuff like that in the game. It was a good learning curve. It was fun. I liked it. So that was decent. The Blood Chiefs, I really didn't like versing these enemies in general, or the bosses in general, so I'm just going to chuck those in E tier. Gaius is the biggest, the worst, probably the worst boss in the entire game. In the entire game. Hog Rider can suck every portion of my nutsack. Not a good boss at all. The fact that he was on a horse, his moves were bullshit. His hitboxes on the charging attack as soon as you go through the gate mean you can't really like set up anything. This is the only boss in the entire game that I used an Ash summon. I didn't use a summon for any other boss besides this boss because I just did not have fun with it at all and I wanted it dead and gone. I hated this boss. Not fun at all. Count Ymir. Now, Count Ymir follows up after the decent boss fight underneath his stairs, I'm pretty sure. I can't really remember. But killing this guy was interesting. The storyline was kind of okay. His moveset was really easy. I did first try this guy though. He was just super susceptible to like double sword bleeds, so like killing him was super easy. But the thematics that led up to it and the area was kind of nice, so it has to bump it up a little bit. It's the same with Dragon Man, I suppose. But Dragon Man's area, yeah, it was the Sejuani boss, Commander Gaius. This guy was interesting. He was interesting, and I think that's good to bump him up a little bit. Curseblade Labyrinth guys. No, these are low. I didn't really like these guys as base enemies as well. They were the ones that would like murk you from around. Dancer was actually a little bit better. Death Knight version 1. I don't know what these guys are. Death Knight version 1. Death Knight version 2. Oh, right. This guy with the lightning axes. I actually really liked the lightning axes boss in the thing. It was kind of annoying when he grabbed you, put you in the air and sucked your soul out, but... and version 2. Yeah, okay. So version 2 was a little bit more annoying, But version 1 was nice. I like the lightning aesthetic a lot in this game, even though it was kind of abused and used. Lightning and holy damage and lightning fire damage was abused in this game, just like how fire damage was abused in the first game. So it was nice diverse. It was cool. Good boss. Death Knight Birth, Death Right Bird rebuffed. I just don't like Death Right Birds at all. Demi-Human Queen Marga. Oh, this is the one on the beach. We've versed this boss before. It's not interesting. It's not good. It's not F tiers. It's not like bad or anything. It's just boring. It's not that great. Demi-Human Swordmaster Onzi. Oh, that's the guy that does that cool jump attack. I mean, thematically, it's slightly better than this Demi-Human, and you get a good item from it. I'm pretty sure you get that like magic weapon from it. So yeah, I actually kind of liked it. Now, I think this is from now going to be... can I go through here and just get rid of Furnace Golems? F. I didn't kill one of them. I hated them. Dragon Fights? F. Let's just go through and get rid of some of these. The Big Bear was okay. Tree Sentinels. No, I don't want to reverse the same things. The Elder Inquisitors. I didn't like versing Elder Inquisitors. I don't know what this one is. Get rid of that. And then are these the mages? Messmer the Impaler, Jagged Peak Drakes. It's just another dragon fight. Golden Hippos, the boss. Dragon Flame. It's just another dragon fight. Falling Beast Star. I kind of like versing these guys, but he's just buff, so it's not good. All right, so we're at pretty much... It's the same fight. It's pretty much the same fight. All these bears are all the same fights. Any other ones here? Rakshaka. Yeah, you get another great katana. Okay, now we can move on to the base. The best. Divine Beast Dancing Lion. I actually really like versing this boss. It took me 5-6 attempts maybe. I didn't even farm anything. I just kind of walked into him and did the boss. I really like learning this guy over the I think it actually took me close to 10 attempts. I really like this, and that sounds more of a brag, like weird brag, but it's just not. I really like this guy, actually. I'm not going to place him in A. But I like the fact that he had 3 phases, lightning, ice, and like the wind phase, which got mimicked later on in the end game with those really bad enemies just walking around that would pick one of those elements, and then that's what they would use. I think this is a really good opening skill curve for the game. It showed you what the game's about. A lot of the arena attacks, unlike Bayle the Dread, were kind of bullshit. The status effects on Frost makes it its hardest form by far. I was very much, when it came to the Frost side of his like battle, was really kind of just running away and not trying to get hit. But every single time he changed element, jumping into the sky, screaming, changing the whole vibe of the arena. The fight was a decent spectacle at least. Difficulty was pretty high, and I've seen a lot of people get stuck on this boss, but it is a good way of stress testing your build. If your build's bad and you walk into this boss arena, if your build's bad or you're not prepared or you're not like good enough and you walk into this boss arena, you're just going to get clapped. Farm a little bit, change up your build, look up some things, because sometimes, like, especially I know a lot of strength build people got kind of murked in this game. A lot of the bosses don't really give you that many opportunities to heal or trade. So I think Divine Beast Dancing Lion gives you a chance to not just be that jump attack Andy and actually have to farm and learn a different way of playing. And for that, I think it's a really good opening first major boss of the game, right next to Blackjail Knight. This is letting you know this is going to be difficult or different because it's just a random guy right as you spawn in. And this is the first major boss, a good milestone beat, and a thematical fight. I actually liked it. Golden Hippo, it's just the regular Hippo enemy, except Sonic the Hedgehog gave him the major rings, the major, like, gems. So he just transforms, goes golden, and he turns into a porcupine halfway through. It was an alright fight. I would go B. It was okay. I think he's better than Count Ymir. It took me three attempts to get this, but that's just because a lot of his attacks were spinnies. I'm not a huge beast liker in a lot of the battles, so I was just happy that it was there. Looked pretty cool. It was interesting. Lamenter. I ended up using Lamenter's mask for the first, like, half of my playthrough because I ran across this guy super early. His boss fights are different. He would just basically do normal moves and then randomly, periodically throughout the fight, I don't know if there was a HP gauge that made him transform, but he would do this thing where he would shadow clone jutsu, summon many versions of himself, and then you needed to kill all the versions in a time frame. If you don't kill all the versions in a time frame, every single person you leave alive would make the Lamenter laughing noise, and then there was a buff that went around your head. As soon as the ring of heads around your head, like every single time one laughed, you would get a little... you would get, sorry, that was my alarm. I need to go to work in like half an hour. Yeah, you would die. You get one hit. So it was definitely a different way of doing boss fights. It was pretty good. And the mask, a transformation, which you didn't get in Elden Ring, was cool. We got 2 transformations, I think. I don't know if there's a third. We got Dragon 1, Dragon 2, and Lamenter. And I think all of them are really cool. So with Lamenter, it was a different boss fight. I'm going to chuck this bad boy in A tier. I liked him a lot. He was cool. Messmer the Impaler. I'm going to feel bad saying this. I third tried Messmer the Impaler, and a lot of people are finding him one of the hardest bosses. I like a good midway skill gap check. And I don't know if my build at the moment was pretty good. I had the Lamenter bleed build, because when you equip it with no armor, it just gives you like 8 arcane. And I basically just hit this guy with swords until he died. It was a very easy fight. However, I'll say this. Getting to Messmer the Impaler and his whole tower and that area was BS. I wasn't a fan of it at all. The enemies were okay, kind of cool. But all of his flame enemy guys and the tower itself was bullshit. I reckon they could have done a better job of Messmer the Impaler if they lent into a more of like an eerie horror snake kind of vibe. But you really didn't see a single serpent at all until you walked into his arena and you're like, oh, this is a fire snake guy. You saw a lot of like Templars that used fire magic and those little dudes that ran away and chuck shit at you and threw at you. And every single shadow in the entire arena was throwing fireballs at you. Bullshit area. It took me an hour to get through. I struggled more in the area than the boss. And in that, I think it takes away from the boss's aesthetic as a whole. The fight was fun. One of the better second phases. I think it's better than Lamenter and Divine Beast Lion for sure. I think aesthetically, I thought that this was going to be the final boss in the entire game because of how much FromSoft pumped this, but yeah, it was interesting. There's a lot of fire bosses. In the point where you watched in the middle, yeah, it definitely was. Which moves us on to the Mother of Fingers, the weird amalgamation of Count Ymir's efforts of blowing into the sounding bells on the map. Now, it was an interesting fight. It definitely was, you can't attack it from the sides because it was basically a creature that was made of fingers and it ran on its fingers on the side. So every single time you attack from the side, the fingers would get bleh. So I got really frustrated. This one took me like 15 tries to actually beat. I struggled on this one quite a little bit because it was more like the game wanted you to just stand in front of this boss and hit this boss instead of like dive to the side and then attack the side, which is like something that I've been doing with a lot of the bosses up until this point. And that skill curve was cool. The area was very eerie, very different. So that would easily put this at the top of B tier for me. The only reason why I don't put it a little bit higher is I'm not a huge fan of beasts and fighting beasts. It was a cool area. Actually, you know what? I'll pump it into A tier. It was good. Definitely behind Black Jail Knight though, as a back and forth kind of attack. It was more like I just respawn on this boss and hope it doesn't use certain moves. And I think that takes away from the boss a lot when you just kind of basically are gambling for a good attack pattern. Makes it kind of weird. Midra, Lord of Frenzied Flame. Literally the second hardest, in my opinion, boss in the entire game. I struggled with this motherfucker so much. I didn't like this guy at all. So this guy messes around with madness a lot. The thematic of the opening where the guy is basically screaming in his... Oh, right. You're riding your horse and you hit this forest and then you get knocked off your horse and you try and get back on your horse and the horse says it's too afraid to come out. The area leading up to Midra was amazing. Having to sneak past the enemies, otherwise they would see you, run at you and one hit you, basically scream in your face, suck at your soul kind of deal, was nice. I really also like Frenzied Flame. I think the ending in the base game was one of the coolest. So yeah. Have I won? Yeah, I beat RADAHN. So we're doing a tier list of all the enemies now. So Midra was mad. I really liked the start of the boss. One of the coolest schematics to actually get it started, especially killing the first phase. Killing the first phase was annoying though, because you would need to, if you were running buffs, which at this point I was still running Lamenters, so I would need to Lamenter's Mask, which takes 15 seconds to buff, and then I was running Bleed build, so I need to Sebiku myself twice, and then run in there. And by the time I kill the first phase of this dude being there, he would just like make me run out of most of my buffs, and then I'll have to verse this guy. I ended up respecking my entire build just to be able to beat this dude. Having to farm the talisman to reduce, increase focus, which reduces madness, is key to beat this dude. He definitely was one of the more interesting fights because he's like a mix of like human / demi-human and stuff like that. I don't like versing beasts. It was definitely better than Count Ymir, definitely better than Golden Hippo, definitely better than Dragon Ancient Man, but I wouldn't put him in S tier. I did not enjoy this boss at all. And beating this guy didn't give me that usual firm software like gratification. Actually, it's way better than Mother of Fingers. And it's better than Black Nightjal. And it's better than Lamenters. I didn't enjoy it more than beating Divine Beast. So I'll put it in A tier. I'll put it in A tier for me. Putrescent Knight. I versed this guy about 15 times, and then I went to bed, woke up the next day, spawned in, dropped into the arena, and he was stuck behind the fog gate, and I basically smacked it behind the gate while I was safe until he died. I didn't enjoy versing this boss at the best of times anyway, especially his move where he did his special, you know, where it was like attacking over his head, and then his horse would hit you, and then run at you more, and then his horse will hit you again. I didn't like this dude. I didn't really actually get a proper victory from him anyway, so I'm going to chuck him in C tier. Is this difficulty? Overall enjoyment. Yeah, I did cheese it, but I just walked into the boss arena. He wasn't there, and then he was just stuck in his own fog gate. He was just sitting there. So I'll chuck him into C tier. I didn't like versing this guy anyway, so I'm going to leave RADAHN to the last. I think that's good. Red Bear, I didn't find this guy, so I'm not going to rate him. Renala Twin Moon Knight. This one is easily... I don't think it's better than Bayle, because I really enjoyed this slight storyline behind Bayle, and especially Bayle's area. Ainala or Renala, if you read her name backwards. Twin Moon Knight. This boss was so fun to verse. This one took me, I think, 40 to 50 attempts. Probably one of the things that buffed up my death counter. Seconded only to RADAHN. This was probably one of my favorite fights. Actually, you know what? No, I do... The actual fight itself, I preferred versing Renala, because I did second try Bayle or third try Bayle. I didn't really get to like fight him and learn his patterns. The actual back and forth of this fight was really nice, really fun. I liked it a lot. She was such a good fight, good boss. The atmosphere of the area wasn't really on point. It was just a random kind of like carrion knight kind of area. So it kind of takes away from like the spectacle that is Bayle of the Dread. But I enjoyed the fight a lot more than with Bayle. I think it's taken the fact that Bayle the Dread is a dragon, where it's just like you look at all of his cool moves, it's like, whoa, that was epic, as you roll, and then you just get under him and you smack his leg. But Renala, it actually felt like a back and forth. I liked it. It was so much better. I'll put her in easy S tier, not because of spectacle, not because of like actual like mechanics or anything. Well, mechanics, I guess, but I just enjoyed the fight more. Romina Saint of the Bud, easy D tier. Easy D tier. This scorpion fucking rot increasing butterfly motherfucker was the worst. I actually hated this boss. No, for sure I hated this boss. Like the just jump attacks and the rotting. Oh, I can't explain it. I don't like this. I didn't like this boss at all. Not to mention the spin attacks, because her body was so long. Either you would get stuck on her tails and get dragged halfway across the map while you're attacking her, which just seems jank to me, but that's very Dark Souls 1. Her moveset was just annoying. And when you ever got rotted, it just felt bad. Now, I versed Malenia and I grinded that out for like 100 deaths, and that felt fun. I didn't like this. If Malenia's second phase turned her into a big scorpion spinny attack like Death Blade, oh man, I wasn't a fan of this one. It wasn't, and it ended up not being difficult. It was just like I needed to make sure she just didn't do a bunch of like AoE spin moves. I hated versing this guy. Scadutree Avatar. Scadutree Avatar suffers from being an annoying respawn boss, and I think that's and some of his moves were a little bit annoying with bleed procs. But when I was versing this guy, I felt like his story was actually being told. When he first spawns in, he's not relatively that hard to kill. But when he respawns, he's a lot stronger and the music gets more intense, right? So you go in there, the music's just kind of normal. You kill him once, respawns, music intense. His moves are stronger. He's stronger. You kill him that second time, and then the music gets really slow, really sad. And you feel like the and his whole aura and the way that he's holding his moves. I know it's just a flower, but he was kind of like wilting. It felt like throughout the cycle of versing the boss, every single time you killed him and he rebirthed or he grew again, whatever, he was dying. And that set a story that, especially coming to like the last phase with the orchestra really playing it like a more of a somber song, and like killing him actually made me feel sad. I'm like, oh shit. I'm kind of like, it almost, instead of feeling like defeating an enemy, I was putting down like the family dog kind of thing. It was like, oh, he's like limping around. The music's super sad. He's wilting. It was an interesting story. In now seeing, I don't think it's worse than the Messmer. Messmer's better. Messmer can go back to A tier because it was too easy. Scadutree was an interesting way of using music to invoke like a reaction from the player, and I enjoyed that. I think it set a story through the battle without having any dialogue at all. It was mad. I liked it a lot. Red Bear, I don't know who you are. Going to F tier. RADAHN, the boss I beat 15 minutes ago. Oh, RADAHN. So much can be said about this dude, man. The first phase was a learning curve. I ended up beating RADAHN, by the way, so people know, with the classic build of Shield Sword. It was just Shield Sword. So I would parry and then slowly hit him until I would proc a status effect. That was how I beat him. It took me pretty much 100 attempts clean to actually beat this boss. First phase felt rewarding to learn his attack patterns. I ended up literally getting to a point where it's like, okay, so he's swinging from the left side high, I can parry that. He's starting his small attack on the right side, I can parry that. If I'm in the right position where he does his jab to fire spring, I can actually parry the jab. If I'm right in front of him, I can parry him off a weird janky hitbox. I learned his first phase to a point where I could almost do it no hit every single time. His second phase, however, is a different beat. Oh, quickly. Quick attack, fucking X slash can burn and rot in 14 layers of hell. I don't care who you are, that is the worst design move where you need to pixel perfect dodge it or take damage. That's all you can do. You cannot parry the first attack, second attack, or third attack. You cannot do that. You cannot dodge the first attack or second attack without getting hit by either one of them. You can reliably dodge the third attack. And that's it. RADAHN's second phase. Let's talk about his moveset. Usually, his moveset would start up with him doing the tactical nuke inbound, which straight on at the start of the fight is manageable because the run isn't that bad. Because you can just basically run at him and dodge the area of effect. Because it's almost like you can't be healing when he starts casting it. You need to be moving at the start of the cast to be actually able to reliably run out of it. And if you react to it, you can reliably run to the edge and then time a roll to get over the edge. Otherwise, you get hit by it. Some of the moves in here are bullshit. Some of the moves feel good to dodge. He has the dash move, which if you're in the wrong spot or dodge the wrong way, like his like laser dash, you get one hit, which happened to me like 14 times. His like poise continual attacks where he would swing, you get hit by the swing and then get hit by the shockwave, makes it ridiculous. You need to run the holy reduction token if you're bad and you get hit by things eventually, and you need to run like damage reduction token. So 2 of your talismans are already gone. Thematically, the fight's cool. Melania, Mikola, sorry. Cool idea. The 2 grab idea into instant kill through lore, like her power is like basically gaslight girl bossing someone into being on her side, right? The double grab into insta kill mechanic is pretty cool. Grab, kissies, exactly. I like that. That was cool. Learning the attacks, parrying the attacks, and whittling him down was cool. When he started spamming every single special move, and his like projection shadow image attacks were kind of starting to get BS. Having to actually use a shield and only knowing that as the way to beat the guy was just not fun. RADAHN should have replaced Messmer, and Messmer should have been the consort of Mikola or something, because I think Messmer buffed with a full arena, different moveset, would have been a way better final boss of the whole DLC. But lore-wise, it makes sense for RADAHN to be the final boss fight. I just didn't like him at all. It was, I don't want to say too hard, because you just need to learn him. Yeah, unfortunately it doesn't. Honestly, he's not too hard. It was definitely, he fell into, the first phase doesn't fall into this at all. You can learn and be good at his first phase. You need to be lucky in his second phase, or you need to die to him 1,000 times and learn everything about his second phase. It got to a point where I was just high rolling, making sure I would run out of pots if he just kept using special move after special move after special move after special move. I would just end up running out of pots. But however, if he slowed down and used some of his normal attacks, which I was basically waiting a minute for him to just swing once or like do a grab so I can get a hit in, it made it feel like I was just gambling attack patterns instead of actually learning the fight. Yeah, so it's either you know how to roll everything and wait to hit him once, or you just learn what you can parry and then roll. So ultimately it came down to I either hit my parry or died, or I rolled and then got a hit. So you can play parry, you can play stagger, and then if you're feeling really spicy and you want to, just one hit the boss, build perfume build, which is going around it as a way to one hit RADAHN. So at the end of the day, where would I put RADAHN? Would I put him in S tier because he is a game-defining final boss of difficulty that will get nerfed now and split the community into pre-nerf and post-nerf enjoyers? Do I put him in A tier, putting him slightly below other things but in front of other bosses? What did I feel when I beat him? Did I feel happy, angry, sad? Was I rock hard, coming everywhere? Do I put him B tier? Is he worse than the Ancient Dragon boss, Golden Hippo and Count Ymir? Is he worse than Rakshata and Putrescent Knight? Is he on the level of any dragon boss in the entire game? Is he worse than Commander Gaius? I don't think he's worse than Commander Gaius. He's way better. He's way better than the Ancient Dragon. In my opinion, he felt better to beat than Romina. He felt better than beat than this guy that I cheesed. Count Ymir? Or maybe he could sit behind Count Ymir. I actually did like the lore of this area a little bit more. Did I find him beating him better than the Blackjail Knight? Did I find the fight between him and Lamenta better? Was I more frustrated with RADAHN or Midra? I actually was more frustrated with Midra than RADAHN. Divine Beast Lion. RADAHN, the only thing RADAHN suffers from is his attacks being bullshit in the second phase. Actually, you know what? There's only 2 attacks in the second phase that piss me off. The dash attack, which you need to dodge in the correct way or you get 1 attack, and the slice X. Those 2 attacks, delete them, he's fine. At that stage, it's get good, stopping ass. the slash X attack is bullshit. That needs to die. He was a better fight than Midra for sure for me. I felt way more accomplished beating this motherfucker than with Midra and Lamenta and Blackjail Knight and Mother of Fingers and Ancient Dragon. I'm really tossing up between if he beats Divine Beast Dancing Lion or not. Because if he beats Divine Beast Dancing Lion and Messmer, I have Messmer on like almost the same level, like these two. Messmer's better by a hair. A hair. Just because I didn't get too many like attempts with Messmer. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave him there. Slightly behind Divine Beast Dancing Lion. If RADAHN's moves stop being bullshit, if RADAHN's moves stop being completely bullshit in second phase, he's fine. He's fine. A good boss. He's meant to be hard. It's like 2 games worth of build-up, right? Yeah, he just needs... How would I fix RADAHN? Remove the X attack, make his AoE nuke just tighter and smaller, and make it so, like, every shockwave of his attacks doesn't poise break you. Every shockwave of his attacks don't poise break you. You just take tick damage, and it just hurts more. So you can't get, like, comboed to shit, and then he's fine. Yeah, I think that's perfect. I think that's pretty good. When it gets around here, it gets a little bit sloppier, but the S, A, B tiers are pretty good. Actually. These aren't ordered. C tier and up. C tier and up are ordered. Yeah. There you go. That is definitely my opinions of the bosses in the game. If you're too mad at RADAHN, you just need to learn him, I guess. They can nerf a couple things on him, but values overall shouldn't go down. It's just some of his moves need to be changed. Everything needs to hit as hard as it does, just like the mechanics behind them need to be changed. One of the big ones is Shockwave. It shouldn't like stagger you completely. Being like hit into stagger into Shockwave into stagger into hit into stagger into Shockwave into stagger, it just feels dog shit. Like if you're in the perfect spot, he can just chain you. I liked him. It was cool. Okay, GG. That's the final tier list. What do we think? Do we agree?